Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about the 3 steps you must take to do your best. Now, doing your best has had a lot of kind of bad connotations over the years, mostly because we compare ourselves to others. I think a lot of people think that doing your best might mean that you're just running yourself into the ground. You're exhausted. You've done everything you possibly could do. It's kind of the warrior mentality of doing your best. You've done everything in your power, and you fought through stress, anxiety, friction, all sorts of different things in your life to make something happen. And that is not necessarily doing our best. The problem is also, like I said before, that we're comparing ourselves to other people. We're comparing our best to other people's bests. Our best is not the same as somebody else's best. We're all very different people, and it looks very different. So one person's best may be doing something to a certain level and achieving a certain thing in a certain way, but that doesn't mean that we have to do it in that exact same way or to that exact same level. So you'll have a lot of people that will look at successful people and say, well, they're staying up till 2 a.m. in the morning doing this particular thing, or they're spending this amount of time doing this particular thing, or they're putting this much effort in, or doing this or doing that. I need to do that. I need to do that. And then they do it and they suffer. They hate it. They don't like what their life has become, or they just can't do it at all. And you start thinking, well, I can't even achieve my best. I can't even do what I want to do because I'm, whatever it is, people think they're not capable of doing their best, or that their best is just weak and ineffective. So I want to clear up a lot of these preconceived notions, because the bottom line is your best is absolutely good enough. And doing your best is feeling your best, okay? So the goal in this video is really to make sure that not only are you doing your best, but you are feeling your absolute best as well. So the 3 steps you must take to do your best. Let's cover those. The first one, number 1, is what it looks like. So what does it look like to do your best? You need to figure that out. So there's 3 different categories in figuring out what it looks like to do your best. The first one is effort. How much effort do you have to put in to do your best? The second one is time. How much time do you have to put into something to do your best? And the third one is strategy. What's the strategy that you need to do in order to do your best? So what are you doing? What are the actual actions that are taking place in order for you to do your best and achieve your best result? So those are the 3 things: effort, time, and strategy. It's very important that we know what our best looks like. If we don't know what our best looks like, then how are we supposed to ever achieve it? It's trying to achieve some sort of moving target constantly. We're constantly coming up short, or disappointed, or unsure of ourselves, or not feeling good because we don't know where the goal is. We don't know what the end goal is at all. And if you don't know that, then you're constantly going to be disappointed. You're constantly going to be in a state of non-approval of yourself and self-hate, and that is not a place that you want to be. So it's very important that effort, time, and strategy, you know what those 3 things look like. What does it look like when you're giving your optimal effort? What does it look like when you're giving the optimal amount of time for you to a certain thing? What are you actually doing? What are these actions? Again, those are the most important 3 things of knowing what it looks like. What does your best look like? Now, how do you measure that? That's the second one. Number 2 is, how do you measure what your best is, right? So maybe you have a certain thing that you're trying to do your best at, hopefully it's a whole bunch of things. Hopefully it's kind of everything in your life you'd like to do your best at. And so whatever it is, if it's a bunch of different things in your life, which I would recommend doing, or if it's, you're just trying to focus on one thing right now that you want to do your best in, the 3 things are effort, time, and strategy. But how do we know how to measure those things? The first one's simple. It's just, how do you feel? How do you feel after you put in a certain amount of effort towards something? How does that make you feel? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel happy? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel just good? If that's true, then you can move on to time. How does time, the amount of time you're putting in, how does that make you feel? Is it making you feel good? Is it making you feel fulfilled? Is it making you feel satisfied? The amount of time that you're spending on this particular thing. And what about the strategy? What about the actions that you're actually taking, the things that you're actually doing, the strategic ways that you're going about achieving whatever it is you want to achieve? How does that make you feel too? Are you okay with the actions that you're taking? Are those making you feel good and satisfied and happy? You have to gauge it with truly how you are feeling. That's the most important part. Because if you do not feel good, if you do not feel fulfilled or satisfied or happy with how the process is going, the effort you're putting in, the time you're putting in, the strategy that you have, then you're not doing your best. That is very clear, because your best, again, doing your best is feeling your best. The goal here is to feel your best. That is your best. Because if we're not feeling good, how could that possibly be our best, the best for ourselves? Always feeling good is the best thing for you. So it's a little different for everybody. Now, the second part of measuring these three things, effort, time, and strategy, is to do a tangible assessment of that. So is it like, so if you feel good with effort, time, and strategy, maybe you want to raise the bar a little bit. Maybe you want to put a little more effort in. Maybe you want to put a little more time into what you're doing. Maybe you want to tweak the strategy a little bit. Maybe, make it a little better, or put a little more things in there, or whatever it is that you think you can do to optimize your strategy and the actions that you're taking. And then once you've done that, you can go back to how you're feeling. Okay, I added an hour per week to this task that I'm doing. I'm doing an extra hour, so I've increased my time. How do you feel now? Check back in, see how you feel. That's important. You got to keep this is a never-ending assessment phase that you always need to go through. The world is always changing around us, and we are always changing on the inside, and we need to in order to keep up and maneuver through the world. So it's important that you have this back and forth between checking how you feel and then doing a tangible assessment, saying, okay, if I feel good with this amount of effort, let's try a little more. Let's see if I can do that. If you put a little more effort in, a little more energy into your work, okay, how does that feel? The amount of effort that I'm expending on this particular task or goal. And then again, coming back to seeing maybe a week later, maybe a month later, okay, how do I feel? Check in. Maybe you feel great. And then you can do a tangible assessment again. Or maybe you actually don't feel so great. You're like, you know what? That extra hour really kind of stressed me out. It made me feel like I was kind of overwhelmed, and it did not make me feel all that great. And my fulfillment's kind of lowering after adding that hour in. And then that's when you can take that hour back off and go back to where you're feeling good, you're feeling energized, you're feeling happy and fulfilled. So that's what it looks like. That's how to measure it. Now, the third thing is, what is the impact? Now look, if you followed the first two steps, you now know what it looks like to be doing your best, which is very important. Number two, you know how to measure that. So you know how to make sure that you're doing your best. You know that if you're not, you know how to correct it and make sure that you are. So that's kind of your barometer, your gauge. You know what it looks like, and you now know how to kind of keep it at that place and make sure that it's there. But the third one, what is the impact? That's the outer world. What about your community? What about your family? What about your friends? What about the other projects or things that you're involved in, your other responsibilities, your other commitments in your life? The thing is that we have a lot of things going on in our lives, right? And it's very easy to focus on one thing as potentially the most important, or something that we want to do our best at. But we have to realize that in order for us to do our best in one particular thing, we need to be doing our best in everything. Because if other things are suffering because you are doing your best in one thing, you're really not doing your best, because other things in your life are suffering. That is not truly a holistic view of what your best is. So it's important that we look at our lives in a holistic view. in a way in which we can look at everything and do our best in everything and fit the pieces together. That truly is our best. So, these are all puzzle pieces. You can't focus on one singular thing and say, okay, this is my best, and forget about everything else, and everything else around you crumbles, because that is not truly your best. So how does your best work in every asset of your life together as a whole? How can you do your best in each aspect, whether it's relationship wise, whether it's working on other projects, whatever the other things are, whether it's health, any of these things in your life, they all need to be focused on, and they all need to be done in this way. You need to be able to do your best in everything. And that may seem a little overwhelming, but it's actually not. It's more overwhelming when you just focus in on one particular thing, and then you realize that you're having to do all these other, you're having to do this like emergency cleanup on the rest of your life because you've kind of put that out of your mind and you're just focusing on one thing. So it's important that we have that holistic view in our lives. The second thing is, what is the impact on you long term? So obviously short term, we're going to have a good idea. We know what our best looks like. We know how to measure it. But what about over long periods of time? What about months, well over a month, even years sometimes? It's important that you track how you are feeling and what you are doing over a long period of time. Because again, like I said, the world is constantly changing around you, and you are constantly changing as well. And a lot of things that may seem great and awesome and exciting and fulfilling in short periods of time, it may be that they're not as fulfilling and satisfying and healthy for you in long periods of time. There's a lot of people who will think they're doing their best. They'll think that they're giving the proper amount of effort and time, and the strategy is something that they believe in, and that's their best as well. And they feel like they're feeling good, and they feel like they're assessing their life in a good way, and they're making sure that they constantly feel good. But over time, whether it's, like I said, multiple months, even sometimes multiple years, people will kind of pop out of this crazy, they'll get so into something and get so excited, and then they'll kind of pop out of it and realize, wow, that wasn't healthy. That wasn't good for me. I'm actually not feeling good. That just kind of swept me away and took over my life. And all of a sudden, I don't feel like this is a healthy lifestyle for me. I don't think I'm doing what's good for me. I don't feel like I'm doing my best in multiple different ways. So again, one way that you can prevent that from happening is making sure that you're doing your best in all aspects of your life. So you're not getting caught up in one piece of your life doing your best, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, my entire life is out of order. That's one way of preventing that. The other way is just continually being self-aware of what's going on. Something may be your best at first, but over the course of a year, over the course of even 2 years, it may become that that's not what's best for you, and that's not your best. And some people, it takes a couple years to realize that. They've just been going through the routine of their life, and they feel like they've been doing their best and things have been going well, and all of a sudden they kind of have an awakening moment where they're like, whoa, that was not healthy. That was not good for a long period of time. So it's important that we stay aware in the long term as well. So again, the three steps that you must take in order to do your best is figure out what your best looks like, figure out how to measure it, and then figure out what is the impact. And those three things will allow you to really do your best. This is something, doing your best should not stress you out. Doing your best should not give you severe anxiety. Doing your best should be something that's comforting, knowing that there's nothing I can do more than my best. That's it. Whatever makes me feel good, and that's all I can do. And beyond that is not my best. If I'm not feeling good, if I'm not feeling fulfilled, if I'm not feeling satisfied, if I'm not feeling happy and about my entire life and all the things within it, then I'm not doing my best. So it's really a way of being able to relax and take weight off your shoulders, because you need to understand that you cannot do better than your best. And doing your best is feeling your best. So let's all continue to try and do our best, feel our best at the same time, and just enjoy that what you can do is all you can do. And that's a great, great feeling. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video this week. I'll be posting next week. I appreciate you watching and being here with me. Thank you so much.